Hello, Mount community. Thank you for joining us. I'm Vicki McCarter, the University Archivist and Special Collections Librarian, and I am joined by a whip-smart group of students who will be presenting on a unique project made necessary by the COVID-19 pandemic. The joint venture by the University Archives and CSJ Institute enabled 7 students receiving federal work-study funds to earn their hours remotely this year while assisting the Mount in preserving important digital assets for the future. The pandemic presented a challenge not only for the Mount, but thousands of colleges and universities nationwide who had to come up with innovative, meaningful projects, especially library projects, that would not only make up for their ordinary library work, but also help the students with remaining engaged in university life, even while they were at home. Work Study is a national program, and it's actually elite. Of the 22 million college students in the United States, only 600,000 are qualified and eligible to receive work study grants. They perform important work in all aspects of higher education while gaining valuable job skills at the same time. In spite of the pandemic, the Mount employed 365 student workers this year, down 16% from last year when there were 436, but it's still a significant number. And the libraries this year have been proud to employ more than 50 of them since last August. In all the library projects, which range from writing book reviews to making book selections for our shelves and online collections. The task that we really had to take seriously was keeping the students engaged and making them feel like they were part of the Mount community, which is hard to do when everyone is locked down. Our project, task number 2, however, is an equally difficult one. And the pandemic gave us a chance to address it seriously. Believe it or not, digital movies, photos, magazines, PDFs, etc., range from fragile to very fragile from an archival standpoint. Unlike a collection of snapshots or old reels of home movies stored in a shoebox, digital collections don't last forever without careful and regular interventions. The approximately 70 oral histories and 30 short videos created by the CSJ Institute document the lives and ministries of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet and are precious to the Mount's legacy as much as paper documents in our archives. There were also magazines going back 30 years with wonderful information about the sisters and their ministries, as well as more than 100 years of obituaries that contain fascinating information about the lives and times of the sisters going back to the 1870s. We want to have these treasures around in the future, meaning 50 or 100 years from now when the Mount turns 200. In spite of changing technology, different archival practices, digital accidents, and the like. On another front, our students were able to do a deep dive into our own Mount history, researching milestones and historic events that look forward to our 100th anniversary in just a couple of years. Through it all, the students were learning about what we call metadata, controlled vocabularies, giant public databases, and digital asset management. These terms are all from library and information science, and incidentally happen to be really good career job skills. In the following sessions, our presenter will describe their projects and what they've learned and what they took away. Now, I am very happy to introduce my colleague, Luz Sandoval, a former Student Worker of the Year herself and an alumna of the class of 2018. She's now a graduate of UCLA's Masters of Library and Information Science, and she is going to talk about the complex logistics of doing a project like this in cyberspace. So Take it away, Luz.
Thank you, Vicki, for the wonderful introduction. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide. There we go. So hi everyone, as Vicki mentioned, I am the archives assistant here at the Mount, and I am a Mount alum, and now I get to have the privilege of coming back and working with the wonderful students and continue the legacy of the Sisters of St. Joseph. So before I begin into my spiel, I wanted to focus and bring your attention onto this picture of Sister Catherine Beavers and Mother Margaret Brady, sorry. And right here, as you can see, they're going ahead and putting in a shovel into the ground to symbolize the groundbreaking of the future Shalon campus. This happened on June 16, 1926. And I am getting a text message that people are unable to see the slide. So I'll just describe it to you the best I can. So basically, as I described, they're inputting a shovel, and this is during the first commitment ceremony. And basically, I love to reflect on this picture right now during this chaotic time, as it proves that we can move mountains even when all odds are against us. So now going into the problems that we face, as we all know, switching onto the online platform this year presented many challenges before pre-COVID, or what I like to call pre-COVID time, the archive would not normally get any student workers. And if we did, those student workers would come from either Access Services or the CSJ Institute. And normally, the projects that we would assign these students before COVID would be to assist us with filing, shredding, shelving. However, this year we got a total of 6 student workers, which is in fact for us a very large number since we're not used to having this many students. So one of the biggest challenges faced is how can we make archival work meaningful to students when they're not actively present or physically present. And with that question, another series of questions and concerns, such as how can we show how great the archives is without the student able to physically interact without the collection? And another question that we had was, how can we make sure that students are gaining value, meaningful skills that will be able to translate later onto their careers? And the most important one, which projects can they work on? From behind the scenes, the libraries, the archives, and the CSJ Institute develop projects for the students to work on. From our end, we knew that we can produce a solution by looking to the future. As we all know, the 100th anniversary of the Mount is coming fast in a couple of years. The archive decided that there is no time like the present to start preparing for this big event. So we created projects that would allow the students to dive into the Mount's rich history while learning about how the Sisters of St. Joseph marched into leadership roles during a time when women were expected to be homemakers. So the students will talk more about the projects, but for now, I'll just mention that some of these projects were the sister necrologies, oral histories, history timelines, and research on the school presidents. But even then, we faced many challenges, as many of our resources are in print. So what we basically did was we really tried to communicate with the students and we try to let them know as much as possible that we were there for them no matter what. This included, but it's not limited to, scanning print sources on demand found in our collections, training sessions, outreach via Instagram, and I also did a virtual tour of the archive. And in each meeting that I had with them, I tried to do an icebreaker so I can get to know them a little bit better. I am confident, and I hope, and I'm sure Vicki is as well, that these methods were successful, as these students right in front of you that are about to dive into their experience in the archive are about to, or they're gonna, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Meaningful results that it'll benefit them and the future of the Mount community. So without further ado, I'll introduce Catherine, better known as Katie Farrell, streaming in from Orlando, Florida.
Hello. Oh, my cat just fell right when I was talking. Hello, I'm Katie, and I actually have a video to show you guys, so I'm going to turn on my screen share.
I'm going to let you share screen, so hang on a second. Your participants, Katie, there she is. All right, take it away.
You might need to stop the share and make sure you have the sound enabled.
Or Katie, if you want, you could talk over it if you want.
Okay, let me see. I might be able to enable the sound. Okay, this should work now.
Hello, my name is Katie Farrell, and I'm a 19-year-old sophomore currently studying film and media here at MSMU. I am also a student worker for the library's archive team, along with Vicky and Luz. As a part of this team, I've taken on a project significant in preserving the oral histories of the CSJs here at the Mount. The goal of my project is to make sure that the oral history videos of the Sisters of St. Joseph at the Mount will withstand the test of time. In order to do this, I collect metadata from the videos that will be stored in order to ensure the longevity of the oral history. Keeping the history of the CSJs alive, even if their numbers dwindle, is important not only to the archive team, but to MSMU as a whole. But what is metadata? Metadata is a data set that describes other data. In our case, the data we are preserving are the oral histories and the data contained in the videos. Storing the metadata allows for easy organization and preservation of the oral history videos. In order to showcase examples of the data I have collected, I have chosen 3 of my favorite videos from the oral history series to share with you. Becoming a nun. The CSJs talk about how rigorous the process of becoming a nun is. They talk about how hard it was being a postulate, saying that postulates must remain silent and shut off from the world. One sister even talks about how she had to miss her sister's wedding. Another talked about how she had to learn to do chores because she was spoiled growing up. They talk about how strict the rules were and how easy it was to be sent home. However, all of them agreed that it was worth it in the end. The summary I just read is an important part of the metadata collected for this video. For each of the oral histories, I document the title, the date created, the sisters who are mentioned, and a summary. I also find keywords that may not necessarily be included in the summary. All of this data serves to help document all of the important information in the video. The next video I have chosen is making the vows and receiving the habit. In this video, the sisters talk about how all of their hard work as a postulate paid off when they finally made their vows. They go into detail about the initiation ceremony held in the chapel and how they wore wedding dresses to signify their commitment to God. The sisters also talk about when they received their habits for the first time. Sister Annette Bauer, in particular, talks about how they had to help each other get dressed, as they did not know how to properly put on the habit. The keywords spirituality, commitment, prayer, love, relationships, learning, obedience, sisters, and religious life are used to distinguish this video from the other one. The last example I've chosen is Get on the Bus. I chose this specific oral history not only because it is my favorite one, but it is different than the kind of oral history from the last 2. Instead of this oral history being a complex retelling of an event crucial to being a CSJ by all of the sisters, Get on the Bus focuses on Sister Suzanne Jabro's journey of outreach to her community. Jabro talks about the creation of the Get on the Bus prison ministry and its lasting impact on both the sisters and the families of the incarcerated. Videos like this are just as important to preserve as the group videos because it demonstrates the CSJ's charism of helping the dear neighbor in action. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm very glad I got to share my project with you.
Thank you, Katie. That was so
Yeah, of course.
interesting. And
Thank
for the rest of you, I hope you are aware of this amazing stuff. It has been on YouTube for a while, but we are giving it a permanent home at the Mount. We don't want to trust YouTube with this content forever. So Katie's playing an important role in making sure this stuff is here. Oh, let's be daring and say 50 years from now. If you're not muted and you're not presenting, please make sure you're muted. Thank you.
Vicky, you are muted as well.
Thank you. I want to now introduce Tiffany. She is the first one of the group to actually get material uploaded to the Internet Archive. And no small task, and probably on the tedious side. So Tiffany will describe her project, and then she's going to give you a demonstration of what the content looks like on the Internet Archive that you are able to access right now. Hey, Tiffany.
Hello, I'm Tiffany. As Catherine briefly, or she delved into on the video side of the oral history project, I mostly dealt with transcripts. And just to reiterate what the oral history project is that it's a collaboration between the CSJ Institute, Film and Television, and the Sisters of St. Joseph. And this oral history project consists of oral histories told by the sisters themselves, and transcripts have been made from these videos, from these full-length videos. 67 sisters have been interviewed, in which they're all asked the same questions about their lives, how they may be connected to the Sisters of St. Joseph and their families and whatnot. And these videos and these transcripts are a way for us to connect with the world and other CSJ colleges, and be able to share this information with anyone who is even just interested in the Sisters of St. Joseph's. And Mount St. Mary's University is greatly dedicated to uploading and preserving this information so that we can preserve the voices of these sisters. And one way for us to preserve this information and these stories is through uploading these transcripts of these oral histories to the Internet Archive. And now I'll share my screen.
I'm going to give you permissions here, so wait just a second.
I think I have. I think it should
Oh,
be.
good. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll leave a link in the chat as well if anyone wants to directly the Mount's account on the Internet Archive or this specific transcript that I have uploaded. So first, you may ask like what the Internet Archive is, and it's an American digital library with a stated mission of universal access to all knowledge, and it's free to the public to access with of documents and photos, and anyone can also upload on the site. And as you can see, I'm not even signed in or logged in, and have the ability to check the Mount's account and see what we have or anyone has uploaded. So you can flip through and see that this is an oral history transcript of an interview with Sister Brenda Lau. Yes. You can see she talks about her family, where she grew up, how she met Sisters of St. Joseph in Hawaii. And here we have links that pertain to the transcripts or the sisters, and you can even click on one of them here, Sisters of St. Joseph. That would be one of the topics or the tags. And you could see that not only does it have the oral history transcripts, it has videos, pictures from people around the world uploading documents relating to the Sisters of St. Joseph. So this isn't just a way for the mountain community to connect. This is a way for anyone around the world who's even curious or has a connection to the Sisters of St. Joseph to easily access information. And additionally, since after finishing this project, I have been tasked to work on necrologies with another student worker. And here's one of the necrologies. Similar to the transcripts of the oral history project, we were able to delve into like the lives of the sisters related to the CSJ and connect with them, and being able to have access to something like the transcripts or the necrologies that we have been going through allows us to understand these sisters more. So I've highlighted the year she was born, the year she died, that's right here. This section says in 1854 at age 21, she became the first to receive the habit in the newly established mission in St. Paul as Sister Marie Cecile. Marian was to carry the long tradition of the LeMay family. And in this section, it says in February 1929, she chose to enter the novitiate of the Sisters of St. Joseph in Los Angeles. So just from these necrologies, we can learn so much about these sisters. And we're working on also uploading these necrologies as they're not uploaded yet onto the Internet Archive, but we're definitely dedicated to preserving the voices and the stories of these sisters. So I just think that as we have gone completely online, as most of us have, the access to these resources and this information will allow the whole community, not just here in LA, but everywhere around the world, anyone connected to the CSJs or not even could remotely connect with others, even if it's not face-to-face. And I think it's quite beautiful to see more and more ways to adapt to the current state of our world, seeing as we've had to make new jobs for the library remotely. I think that as time goes on, I think more of these jobs as a student worker will allow us to better understand like why we do this for like our school and how our school has come to this point. Yeah. And that is it for my section. I think we can go back to the slide, and now I would be introducing Lucy. She's class of 2023 and her major is business and accounting.
Hello, my focus this year has been on the Mound's history. Through the use of various research materials, I identify and describe the significant moments and milestones in the university's history. The main materials I use are the MSMU archive and Sister Germain's history book. The archive, specifically the MSMU digital collections, provides information through the Mount magazines. However, I also utilize postcards, photos, and newspapers. I rely primarily on the book written by Sister Germain, though, which is more reliable. When I began this project, I focused on a specific period, but I have since expanded my focus to the entirety of the Mount's history. The information I gather is inserted into timelines, and I believe my work will go towards the development of the 100th anniversary book that we are planning to publish. Next slide, please. Though I've gained immense knowledge about the Mount's history, I've also learned about the CSJs and the impact they have had on the university and surrounding community. My research has given me the opportunity to see the sisters as leaders who catered to and enacted change, even with limited resources. I was able to see how they influenced students to strive to be their best selves and to use their knowledge and time to help those in need. Next slide, please. There are many examples of this, but I wanted to touch on a few, some which you might be aware of. Some of my favorite aspects of the Shalon campus would have never been made a reality had it not been for the sisters. Mother Margaret Mary took the initiative in 1928 to get the school to start collecting money for the Mary Chapel. It is because of her that students and staff have somewhere to go to find peace throughout their busy days. The beautiful Charles Willard Coe Memorial Library was made possible by Sister Mary Celine Coe. She donated her inheritance, which amounted to over $300,000 to fund the construction of the library. In addition, during the war, the Mount students were encouraged to become involved and join the Children's War Relief Fund, the Victory Bond Drive, and the Red Cross. The Mount even established the Social Welfare Department in 1945 because there was a need for social welfare workers. In more recent years, the Mount established a program in which volunteers, known as TIES, taught adults English. TIES is an acronym for Teaching Immigrants English Skills. Most of the student tutors were daughters of immigrants, and they were very devoted to their role. In providing each adult with personal attention, they helped many master the language and increase their chances of being hired for better paying jobs. Next slide, please. It has definitely been a challenge adapting to working online. However, regardless of the conditions, I am so grateful to have been given this opportunity, mainly because of how the CSJs of the past have impacted me today. I've been inspired to do whatever I can to help others, even if I do not think I have the resources to do so. The CSJs have shown me how important it is to have the right mindset. Most importantly, they have shown me how loving and understanding others can change the world for the better. This will stay with me for the rest of my life and is truly one of the most important things I have learned while studying at the Mount. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Lucy. One of the things that Luz and I heard from our students several times is how interesting their work was diving into the lives of the sisters. Now, watching dozens of videos or reading scores of transcripts is certainly not my idea of a fun job sometimes, but this was new material for everyone, and they really commented on just they got absorbed by the work, and that's a good sign for our ability to put this stuff out to the rest of the world. When Tiffany was talking about metadata, she mentioned and demonstrated that the content that we put in the Internet Archive is hyperlinked by certain terminology, which we call controlled vocabularies, that enables everyone else looking for Sisters of St. Joseph or Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet to see all the other content about the same thing. And so when we are working with the other CSJ colleges, and they are starting to put content online, they use similar terminology, and it creates one gigantic virtual collection in cyberspace. part of the CSJ Institute mandate, along with the library, is to develop research resources for the Mount community and for others that will carry on the legacy of the CSJs. So this is a very tangible way that we have advanced that project, and I'm really super proud of the girls. I want to mention a couple of the other students who didn't present today because we could have been here for another hour. But Liliana is a freshman, and she has been gathering information and pictures of the sisters that again will become, it's similar to what Lucy's been working on, but it will help advance our written history of the Mount for 100 years and also create more information about them. She also is working on the necrologies along with Tiffany. And one of the things they have learned to work on this year is Excel, which everyone in libraries uses for one thing or another. They are entering this metadata in Excel spreadsheets. It will later be transferred to formal permanent databases. And it requires accuracy and good spelling and certain writing skill. And so again, these are all really great job skills that we are able to share with our students. Liliana's takeaway here is typical of what we heard. Many sisters dedicated a lot of their lives to cater to change during the time in which they served their religious lives, adapting to the needs of the times, right? They serve under humility, kindness, loving nature to help others in needs, the dear neighbor. So as Liliana has pointed out, this stuff is coming out in the material that we are working with. I think that's kind of cool. Frida, who's online, has been, the Mount's written history is really great for the first 50 years, 1925, 1975. There's a book, and there's no book after that. We're going to have to write the next 50 years. So Frida is going through all our online publications, which include magazines, newspapers, even catalogs, to see what was going on at the Mount and looking for milestones. And again, she is saying a new appreciation for the CSJs and the Mount's leadership that has allowed for this tremendous growth for almost 100 years. And finally, Kelly, who manages to work a couple of jobs in addition to going to school, and is responsible for the PowerPoint we're using today. She expanded on what we know about the Mount's presidents. So we'll have a little more information than what's on the website, the MSMU public-facing website, with their achievements, their contributions. And again, she's going to our already digital sources available to everyone. Sometimes it's a needle in the haystack, I think Kelly will agree. So we've been kind of limiting her more recently to just look at the current stuff, look at the last 20 years, last 30 years, or look by decade, finding out some of these milestones that will eventually help tell the story of the Mount at 100 years old. So, Luz, do you want to run down who's who here and give a big thank you? I want to thank Luz for rounding up the. We met weekly. We shared, as Luz said, we had icebreakers, and I want to express my appreciation for all of them, but also I'm really looking forward to the meeting them in person when we're able to get back to the Mount and do some work with the physical archives. So Luz, do you want to introduce everybody one more time?
Sure. So as Vicki mentioned, I am super proud and thankful for all the hard work that our students have put into while working this project. And we did kind of drop the ball on them of the academic symposium a little bit late into the semester. But however, our students were very awesome and they were able to put it all together, and we worked with them endlessly. And unfortunately, we ended up losing one of our student workers, April Casillas, throughout the school year just due to other things going on in her life. But however, she really put in a great amount of effort. And even though she's not with us right now, throughout this presentation, we still featured her right in our credit slide. So thank you everyone for coming, and thank you to our wonderful students.
I'm going to open it up to questions and answers. So if you have any, Luz and I will monitor the chat, and anything about, excuse me, the logistics or how we decided to do what, anything like that, just let us know. And I thought I'd start. These girls are ready for anything. Excuse me, these women, they're ready for anything. We did kind of drop the symposium on them. Lucy, what was the hardest part about any of this year, including being locked down?
I think for me, it was not being able to be like necessarily on campus or in the same time zone even.
Yeah, we had to keep telling ourselves that, oh yeah, Katie, she's in Orlando. It's like 10 o'clock at night.
Well,
really,
I would say like, oh yeah, I have a meeting at 5 tonight, and then I'd be like, oh wait, no, it's at 8. And then just like things like that.
Yeah, I think that you know, universities are encountering this all over the country, and I think among what I have read and heard on a couple of webinars, libraries are the ones who really rose to the occasion, because libraries are big employers of student workers. When you think about you know, books that need to be shelved and books that need to be stamped and tagged and scanned and all that, that's a lot of physical work that we couldn't do. But having 50 students and keeping them busy, you know, and these weren't the only ones. The other students, as I briefly touched on, worked on doing book reviews. They read book reviews and then made recommendations to to Cheryl, our circulation director, collections director. And so these books will be purchased, and those reviews will be available to read online, which is really cool. Danielle asks, were we aware? Oh, were you guys aware of the Internet Archive before you started working on this? Anybody? How about the audience? Anybody know about the Internet Archive before all this? It is an amazing thing. Good, way to go, Catherine. Oh, we have Catherine Lucy from the Central Archive, the CSJ Consolidated Archives in St. Louis is on the session. Welcome, Catherine. Yes, we're sharing all the time. President Ann, if our students had the opportunity to do further archival work on the sisters, what would they most be interested in learning?
Honestly, I would just want to hear more oral histories and all the stories that they have to offer. I would love to, when we're back on campus, be able to talk to some of them in person and work more on different interviews, because they have a lot to share, and they're amazing women. They're super interesting, and they just have so much life experience. And they're all super funny too, which I feel like nobody ever gives them credit for that.
That's a good point. The videos are wonderful. You see that sense of humor, which seems to be a criterion for being a CSJ, huh? But President Ann asks a really good question. So you guys, let's say safely you have mastered spreadsheets, right? What else would you be interested in learning? How about more about the Internet Archive? And see, we're very fortunate at the Mount that we have a dedicated collection. Anybody, all of you guys, anybody can put stuff in the Internet Archive. But when you have a systematic, dedicated collection like we do, they're a lot of work, because they have certain specifications that we have to follow. So would you be interested in finding out some more about that? Or working with vocabularies a little more. I have promised Katie, I'm going to teach her how to use Merlin, our digital asset management, where we are keeping videos and photographs for the future. So, what can we help you with this fall? Or are you going to get a job somewhere else? Go ahead.
I think backtracking to the last question about if we knew about Internet Archive, I personally didn't know anything about it. And I think learning more about sites like this or ways to like preserve information would be really beneficial, because I think that even as like just me, not as a student or not as a student worker, I could upload my own pictures or videos to just save. And I think that's really nice and cool that we have technologies like, oh, we can like just save this for. So yeah, I think learning more about programs like that.
That's nice. Great. That is great to know. And President Ann, thank you for that question, because maybe there are some students create a lot of work when they're in college that's digital. It's not like when I was in college and you print it, you have the thing you did on the typewriter in the garage. That doesn't work with digital media. And so maybe there is a way we could do a little training in creating private collections. So like Katie here is in the film and media department. Students should have a place like the Internet Archive where they know about how to keep their student work, so their children and grandchildren could see it someday. The Internet Archive was actually created not necessarily for big university libraries or small university libraries, although we're the ones actually paying for it. It's free to the public because they know that families and people and small communities have wonderful digital assets, and it's available to everybody. The trick is doing it in such a way you can find it later, like our hard disks, right? Any other questions? Do you guys?
I'll jump in because Meredith did ask a very good question. So her question is, before this work, what were your feelings and experiences about the founders, the CSJs, and what has changed since then? Would you like to be more connected with our sisters now?
I learned about the CSJs in my freshman year, and I've always been astounded by how much they have accomplished and will continue to accomplish. And I definitely would love to spend some time with a group of them and learn more about how I can make an impact on our community.
Good, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Anyone else? Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good to see you.
You too. So before working with this project, I didn't know much about the CSJs. I didn't know much about the history, but after working with it, I learned so much about the sisters. And my view has changed a lot because, like I said, I didn't even have a view on them before, but now I know how great they were as people, and I learned so much about their positive attitudes and positive personalities, and I would like to incorporate that into my own life. And because of that, I would love to be more connected with the sisters now.
Well, that's one of the things we've been kind of promising these young women, that once we're vaccinated and the mounts reopened and Corundlet Center opens back up from extreme lockdown, I really want to have more of a connection with our students and the CSJ archives. I know this will probably terrify Sister Patricia Rose just to mention this, but she could, now that these young women have some training in archives, I think they could probably help. And I know Catherine, listening from St. Louis, could probably agree with that we could use a few extra hands, because there's such a wonderful volume of material and it's all about making it available. I hate to say it, but we've only made a tiny little dent in in what we call in archives the stuff. That's an official archives term. Here's a question, or a comment. We are doing a prayer service with the sisters next week. If you want to meet and re-meet some retired sisters, well, put a face with some of the names. Those of you who have worked on the oral histories and the videos. Thanks for letting us know, Meredith. We'd like to have commercials while we're doing, for anything CSJ while we're doing these. Let me scroll back. Did we get all the questions, Luz?
Shannon raised a hand, so go ahead.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shannon Green, the director of the CSJ Institute. And I am virtually speechless, but I just want to express my gratitude, my deep gratitude, and just my absolute excitement over the work that you've done. I don't know if you have any idea how much you have advanced the goals of the Institute and the mission of the university by this work. It is just phenomenal. And it is a contribution, I think, now that will last for generations. I too have, by getting to know our sisters through the interviews, have been so inspired, humbled, and delighted by them and by getting to know them. And what I want to just throw out there in terms of a future possibility for connection is, these intellectual giants are still with us and interested in what we do at the Mount. They are very interested in student work and our faculty research. So one idea we've had is, when we can reopen, is could we do even a mini symposium at Carondelet Center for them? So I would love it when we're back on campus, and if we can move forward post-COVID to see our sisters more face-to-face, that I would love to invite you all to come to Carondelet Center and to present this work to the sisters directly. I know they, and I know a few of them were able to join us throughout today, but in general, they don't have access to be able to join us. So, but mostly, and Vicki and Luz for your creativity and vision and shepherding this incredible group of women researchers. So you have our deepest gratitude. Thank you so much.
Oh, Shannon, couldn't have done it without you. My inspiration all the time is the work of the CSJ Institute. I think I express for everybody on this team. We are so blessed to be able to be involved in this. It's just a neat thing. Beyond word. We are almost at the 50-minute mark, unbelievably. Let me give a commercial for the archives and the research team here. If you have questions about CSJs, a particular sister, Mount history, 100 years of anything. One of my favorite things that we have is we have a timeline of diversity and anti-racism efforts at the Mount that goes back to 1925. So if you're in discussions about things like that, introduce the Mount's wonderful history. And don't, I never leave. I'm here all the time. I never go anywhere. I live in Zoom. I don't even exist anymore. I'm just a Zoom figure. So please reach out to me, reach out to Luz. We will happy to involve our team in the questions you have. And happy 4 years to the 100th anniversary. And with that, I am going to figure out how to turn off record. Hello, where to go? Stop share. Thanks Luz, thanks team. I guess we're not going to meet tonight, but it's been wonderful working with you, and we still have a few weeks in the semester and next year. So with that, thanks everybody. Happy Symposium and great job, Andre. Bye-bye.